to Jean-Paul Paloméros, former Air Force Chief of Staff and former Supreme Commander of NATO Allied Forces. Thank you very much for being here with us on France 24.
My pleasure.
Where do you think all of this is going? How long do you think it can last with such intensity?
Well, unfortunately, I think we are just at the beginning. It was very spectacular, and I must admit, the operation against the guide against Ayatollah Khamenei was a wonderful, a very successful, I would say, operation. But we must really face the reality. It's just the beginning, because now we have a regime which is wounded and which is trying to scare all the countries in the vicinity, launching ballistic missiles, launching drones, and they have plenty of those, and trying to really threaten everything, including the boats on the merchant boats on the Strait of Hormuz, and in the airspace as well. So we have a very delicate situation to deal with. And on the other side, the coalition, I mean, Israel and the US must continue what they are doing. They are doing a great job, if I may say so. They are hurting the power. They are striking ballistic missile stocks. And they are really, I would say, pushing very hard to diminish the strategic effects of those ballistic missile stocks, which are the only really strategic tools that the Iranians have today, including, I would say, the drones. And we see how much one single drone can procure damages. And yeah, we are in a very unstable, and Iranian, I would say, power is very difficult way of behavior. It's very difficult to follow, but they are just trying to survive.
It's all very interesting. Israel, as we heard from the military spokesperson, says it's not going to change its approach. However, we are getting reports of the deaths of 3 US soldiers. Do you think that's likely to change the US's approach?
Well, when you go to war, and to such a war, you must admit that at a certain stage, you will have to suffer some people killed. And this, again, as a former military chief, I can just tell you that this is the beginning. Obviously, everybody is working hard to try to contain that, and to make the environment safer. But when you have such a power, and the Iranian power of today, they are absolutely crazy. They really try to survive. They hang to their power, and they will do whatever they can to do so. But I think they've made a strategic mistake, fatal error of attacking the countries in the vicinity, the Gulf countries, which more or less were, I would say, neutral. Well, they host bases, but if they were not really part of this battle, of this campaign, and nowadays they are really engulfed. They are really fully involved, and they are attacked, and they have really to answer. So it's not a good news for the Iranian power at the end of the day.
I'm intrigued to hear your perspective in terms of negotiations. Do you think the initial negotiations that were held in Geneva were just a cover? Do you think any of the parties involved went into those discussions hoping they would come out with some kind of a consensus? Or do you think this has been the US and Israel's plan all along?
I will take some time until I see Mr. Trump or Mr. Netanyahu, but Mr. Trump surely going to the table of negotiation. It's too much now. The war has started, and you cannot stop that. That will be really a big error. And I hope that Mr. Trump will, I would say, prove some patience we need strategic patience, because you cannot get rid of all this power in one day. You have to have a longer campaign. Why? Because you need to reduce the power of your enemy and adversary, like a ballistic missile, for instance, or to reduce the strength of the Guard, the Republican Guard. But on the other hand, you have to do that with great precision if you want to avoid to make casualties, undesired casualties in the population. The population is a kind of center of gravity. We have to convince the population that this coalition is working for its interest. So, and to do so, they have to really minimize any collateral damage that could be done to the population.
I mean, you already touched on it a little bit in your answer there, but I was just wondering if you could flesh out a bit more what you think a success for the US would look like, what a success for Israel would look like, and how aligned do you think those two parties are in their vision of a success in all of this?
Yeah. Well, it's quite obvious that for Mr. Netanyahu, as he put very clearly, I think it was yesterday, that he cannot envisage denuclearization of Iran without a regime change. He knows that he doesn't trust the Ayatollah or the Republican Guard. These guys, they have fought and they are still really vocal about Israel as a clear enemy. And so the regime change is really the only way forward as far as Mr. Netanyahu is concerned. Mr. Trump has said the same thing, but the question is, does he mean really that he wants a regime change, and how they can achieve that? This is very tough. I mean, this is a clear, I would say, and a very ambitious scenario, and perhaps they are right. I would support that. But how you do that with military pressure, with no boots on the ground, and with a population which is not armed and which would have a lot of difficulty to really fight against the remaining power, which is even more dangerous, I would say.
Well, thank you for your insight on the US and Israeli positions. I'm curious to know what you think Europe's role is in all of this. How do you think they're going to get involved?
At the end of the day, yes, they pretend. I mean, the European pretends that they are not part of this crisis, but you see the last minute information that we have just had before this call. A base, naval base in the Emirates, and the French part of this naval base in the Emirates have been stricken, not very heavily, by chance. No people wounded, from what I know, but nevertheless, we are there. We are in the picture. We have this naval base. We have just few kilometers away, we have the Air Force, some Rafale and combat squadron, which is on the Al Dhafra base, which as well has been more or less touched by, I would say, a drone or the rest of a drone, I don't know. And we have in Jordan as well as far as the French are concerned, but the UK, they have also some assets in the region. And there was a question about the Cyprus detachment of the UK, of the Royal Air Force, being not attacked, but a potential target. So we like it or not, we will be involved. And this is not by chance that a new defense council has been assembled by French President Mr. Macron in a few hours time to decide what to do. But And I must add that there is an agreement between the Emirates and the French and France, dated in 2008, if I'm right, a defense agreement. So how far this defense agreement can draw the French government and the French troops into the conflict, this is still to be seen. And certainly in the defensive mode, they will have to protect themselves. They will have to protect the bases in which we are operating. That has been done, by the way, in the June campaign, certainly in Jordan, where the French aircraft took part in the campaign against ballistic missiles and drones. So it could be done as well. And last but not least, we have to have a close look on what is happening in the Strait of Hormuz. Strait of Hormuz is a really vital link. 20% of the oil traffic is going there. And so they cannot leave Iranians jeopardize that. And what is strange enough is that the Iranians, they took benefit as well of the Strait of Hormuz. So they have to cope as well with two different priorities. But nevertheless, for the time being, we understand they have attacked, I think, 2 boats, including one which was more or less their oil. And you feel that since there was this big strike against the big chiefs, including the Ayatollah, there is something which is not going right into the organization of Iran. Who is leading that really? There is a confusion and a lack of strategy because all the strategists have disappeared. They have been killed.
Interesting that you say that amid all these concerns of escalation. There are a lot of experts who are saying that you can't bring peace through war. I'm wondering if you see a potential regime change and what can Iranians do if they want to bring democracy to the country?
We have no example. I mean, every single crisis is different from one to the other. And Iran is a very specific case. What we know is that I would say a large percentage of the population is against the regime. That doesn't mean that all these people will go against armed revolutionary guards, as we have seen recently. So, but as Mr. Trump said, the reserve is that, the support is that there now. Mr. Netanyahu stressed that as well. How you manage a transition which is acceptable, that will not be done at once? Will there be a kind of transition phase that perhaps could be a good process, but you have to find the proper people to do that. If you have extremists in Iran still in power, that will not be feasible. And perhaps one question behind that, the role of the Iranian army by itself, which is not the Revolutionary Guard, as everybody understands. The Revolutionary Guard are really fighting for the regime. The army is there to protect the population. How far the army could balance, could switch, that could be a way forward. We need some stabilizing tool, if I may say so, agent, if we really want to achieve under these conditions without boats on the ground to achieve a kind of smooth, if I may say so, transition. But that will be difficult. That will need patience. And this is a big question as far as Mr. Trump is concerned. How long can he sustain that? Will he really be patient enough to strategic patience is the name of the game. We have to keep on reducing the military capabilities of Iran and to diminish their ability to launch those strikes again against the countries, against Israel, against the Gulf countries, and at the end of the day, against the population as well.
Very detailed insights. Thank you very much for that. Jean-Paul Paloméros, former Air Force Chief of Staff, former Supreme Commander of NATO. Thank you for being with us on France 24.